We're husband and wife and business partners who aren't afraid to live life on the edge.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Juliana.
From success and wellness to candid conversations on travel, food, and culture, we're here for it all.
All right, here we go. Today, we have a very special guest, a friend, and also Zibby has been called the Oprah of books before, so this is pretty huge. Zibby Owens is an author, podcaster, publisher, and founder of Zibby Media, a company dedicated to deepening the connection between readers and books. Zibby has built a literary empire, helping busy people fall back in love with reading, one relatable conversation at a time. So, Zibby, so nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Lovely intro. Might have to steal that.
Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. I'll send you a copy.
It's nice to see you again.
Yeah,
you too.
So nice to see you. Last time we saw you, we had a lovely dinner in Watch Hill. Thank you again.
We did. That was lovely. I wish I were there on the ocean right now.
You don't. It's not beautiful right now. It's been raining for 3 days.
Yeah, it's actually not nice here either, but probably still nicer by the ocean.
You're home in New York right now, East Coast?
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, I see you back and forth, LA, New York, and we were supposed to be out there. You know, obviously the week turned crazy. We were supposed to go to California back in January, and I was so excited to finally visit Zibby's Bookshop in Santa Monica, and unfortunately that was the week of the fire. So crazy, crazy week, crazy series of events. I'm so glad that you, your family, your home was all okay, but insanity.
Well, it's better that you were not there.
Yes.
And the store is there, and we renewed our lease, and we'll be there for years. So please come by.
We definitely will. I look forward to it. But yeah, so you're obviously so busy. You've been hosting your own podcast for how many years has it been now?
7.
7 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so you were
daily.
Daily, I know. So how do you facilitate that? So, okay, your podcast was called Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books, correct?
Correct.
And now is it Booked with Zibby?
Totally booked. with Zibby.
Totally booked, even better. I love that. Okay, that was a recent change. I love it.
It was. Recent change.
So daily episodes, how do you facilitate that? And obviously you meet with authors here to and fro and some of the hugest names in the world.
How do I facilitate that? I read a lot.
Yep.
I spend a lot of time sorting through books, figuring out what books to have on the show, curating, which also dovetails with curating for the bookstore. So it's a 2-for-1, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
I have just been able to do it. I work with a woman named Chelsea, and she's amazing. And the two of us just I say yes, she sends an email. I don't know. We have our systems down.
Yeah, that's great.
When I do, usually I batch the podcast. I try to do a couple at once. I've recently started a live series in front of an audience. So that's been really fun. I've done 4 of those this spring. My last one's tomorrow, actually. So 22 episodes, I think, in front of an audience with video. You guys have lovely video, but I do not at home. So trying that. And yeah, I just love it. I just love talking to authors, getting advice about every part of life. So it's been a joy.
Well, you're so good and so natural at it. As I mentioned in your intro, you're also an author. And this is one of your books that I have, Blank. And such a fun book. And I would also love to, we talked about this in the past. You run retreats. I don't know how you do it all. Moms don't have time to read books, but somehow Zibby has time to do everything under the sun. So I would love to, in the future, do something with Blank in LA. But can you tell us a bit about your retreats, the Zibby retreats as well?
Sure. And that would be fun. And I'm always happy when more people are doing retreats because I've gotten so much pleasure out of doing ours. We launched them in 2023. When our first book that we published, because I started a publishing company as well, and we thought it would be fun to have our authors come, but also invite lots of other people and other authors to the retreat, which just reminded me I was supposed to call back the author I had on that retreat, but I forgot. That was on Sunday. Mental note. Anyway, how do I do it? This is how I forget. If I don't do something right away, I forget. And we take about 40 women to sometimes men, to a destination that frankly, I really want to go to, or I haven't been to, or I've always wanted to go, or I've loved. And we go to a lovely hotel and we go to great meals with like custom printed menus. And it's like a wedding weekend of sorts in a way. Everything is taken care of. You just like show up on the bus or wherever. And the great thing is that at every stop, we have an author talk. So Usually I moderate or I pair authors and we have conversations about their books, but really about life. And then we move on to the next. And maybe we go visit a few bookstores or we go for a walk around some gorgeous property or go to a book festival, something bookish, and then just have great conversations and lots of laughter.
So nice. And you have one coming up is it October in Greenwich, Connecticut?
Yes. I'm trying to see if I can, in my kids' schedules, I have 4 kids and they have been limiting my ability to host retreats, honestly. I've actually brought them to some, but that doesn't always work well with all their busy activities. So I'm still trying. I'm hoping maybe I could fit in a day long. We're also doing not retreats as much as sort of day-long events.
Nice.
So we might do one of those in the Hamptons this summer. But otherwise, Greenwich in October and probably Santa Monica in November.
Wow. Well, I'm going to be at one of them. For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
Right.
Greenwich especially is like right next door. So that'll be easy. Yeah. Ryan, you had some questions? You were talking to me earlier. We were discussing your production side of things. I know your husband, Kyle, he produces movies and that aspect about it.
Well, I just think it's really interesting from Juliana and what we've done sort of started with sort of just a love for books and the book club that Juliana has. And this is now an offshoot of that, doing this podcast. And that really just started because of COVID and we couldn't travel. So Juliana wanted to somehow still feel connected to traveling. And so she kind of, created this book club and it sort of evolved from there. You have taken a love for books and turned it into obviously writing your own books, book club, podcast, media production company, really now the retreats and everything. And I was just sort of interested in hearing from you sort of what that process was like for you in creating this brand and creating a brand that was really, really honed in on books and love for authors and appreciation for authors and everything, and how that sort of evolved for you over the years when everyone is sort of obsessed with kind of being edgy and trying to be viral and, where you've been able to build this really impressive brand, really focused on kind of one thing.
If I shared how many iterations of this brand and messaging and websites and platforms we've tried, I mean, we were talking our, I guess, executive team, you would call us, but that sounds so professional, but really just a few of us who have been around for a while. We're talking to these external people who were interested about the business and started listing just the many things we've done and no longer do or platforms we've tried. I think the whole way, not that I knew that I had this approach, but it turns out this is my management style, is that I like to try things and think, what's the worst that can happen? So, and I like to test. And if it doesn't work, or if it's working, but is not bringing us joy or is not accomplishing our mission of really helping authors, then we pivot. And I have a great team and we all really believe in our mission to bring authors and readers together and curate a meaningful experience that helps people live better lives at the end. I mean, I'm so driven by the mission that the how, it comes secondary, and I feel freedom to experiment to be most effective. And some things I can't really change, like the publishing house is like a big thing. Like I can't decide one day or not. Like, yeah. I mean, when I first started this, I remember somebody said, "You're going to do this about books?" They're like, "You don't mean physical books, right? Because nobody's going to read physical books anymore." And I'm like, "No, physical book." And now books are having a resurgence, right? With COVID and the younger TikTokers and everybody.
I forgot to mention the fact that you also have a brick and mortar bookstore.
I do.
Yeah.
I love doing that.
Yeah.
Yes. It's all just happened by taking the next natural step and evaluating each opportunity as it comes in and saying, like, does this make sense or not? And then spotting opportunities and pursuing them and seeing, does this work or not? And so it's sort of like trial and error, this whole thing. And not to say I don't have a strategy, I have a very clear vision, but that's different than a tactical approach, which I think has just been really fun to sort through, although very stressful at times too. And some things work better than others and all of that. And of course, life just keeps throwing curveballs as it does. And we're here for that. And that's just part of the game.
It's funny. We had Kathy Heller on the podcast last month. And I also saw that she was at your retreat. And one of the things that Kathy said, which is reminding me of kind of what you're saying now, but she said that she does things messy. She said that she does them hard and fast and like, she has an idea. Not to say that what you're doing is messy, but that was how she referred to herself. But it's just kind of like, you have an idea and you just kind of figure out and you make it work because you have the vision. And it's so cool to see all these different endeavors that you've really followed through on. And, this empire that you've been able to build is really, really exciting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, if there's one thing I can guarantee, things will not look exactly the same in 3 years from now. I don't know what necessarily they will look like, but not exactly the way they are. And I love Kathy Heller, and she's amazing. She did come on the podcast and is such a warm, wonderful person. I do not do things messy. Every step is very neat.
Yep.
It's just I have very neat handwriting, but a lot of eraser marks.
Sure. Yeah, that's cool. And we meet with a lot of entrepreneurs just in general and in business. And I always love to hear the different ways that people kind of operate. And, it's so different, but you're also a business owner. And there's just such little nuances between people in the way that they get from point A to point B. So what's going on the film scene at this point in time? So you've got your production company. Are there any books that, I don't know if there's anything under wraps, but anything you can tell us at least that are going to come to life on the big screen?
We did recently announce that one of our authors, Emma Gray, her book, Pictures of You, was just optioned. So we're very excited about that.
Congratulations.
We have another thank you project that we can't announce yet, but are in the works. I recently was an associate producer on the film October 8, which is a documentary about the rise of anti-Semitism here in the U.S. and how that came about in a very intentional way, as opposed to how it might seem. There was a concerted effort to do that. So in terms of other books to the screen, I'm still working with a producer about Blank, trying to find a writer for this project. We'll see, who knows. And I might be doing something now with another book. So who knows? Lots. You never know what's going on.
Yeah. Do you have any interest in writing the screenplay of, for example, Blank on your own? Like rewriting it as a screenplay? No.
I have literally zero interest in writing a screenplay.
Okay.
Not to say at some point it won't interest me to learn how to do it. I do like learning new things and trying them out. So maybe the closest thing to an adaptation I've done is that my daughter and I have been writing this middle grade novel, and we adapted it to be a graphic novel. So we have about 70 pages, but we both kind of lost steam on this project. And my son read what my daughter and I had written. He's in like 5 minutes, and he's like, "You need like 200 more pages." I'm like,
"Oh my gosh!"
No. I'm like, "This took us so long." So we've run out of material to adapt and have to come up with original material for the rest of it. But no, I'm not interested in screenplays particularly.
Fair enough. You got enough on your plate.
No, I was just going to ask. I mean, obviously you have a lot going on, a lot of different offshoots and everything. I'm just curious, like how much of this happens organically or how much of it is all of a sudden, hey, this seems like a cool thing I want to try. Let's try it versus, okay, in 1 year from now or 6 months from now, I want to try doing this. Let me make these steps and game plan working towards that. Or is it really just things pop up and you're like, cool, let's go with that. Let's try that.
No, I mean, we're not impulsive.
Yeah.
Like everything is thought through. There are some things that I've had in the back of my mind that essentially I'm getting more and more data for. So it's not that I'm planning it for 3 years from now, but I'm not ready to do it now, but I'm continuing to get information about it and seeing if it makes sense. It's not in a structured way, but I find myself then talking to lots of people in that industry and getting more information and researching online. And I'm basically doing the steps to analyzing an opportunity without saying, I'm analyzing the opportunity right now, and here's like my plan and da-da-da. But I do that often. And some things I know may come, but I'm just not ready to do. So yeah, it's all there.
So cool. And how is it? So you and Kyle, how closely do you work together?
Basically ask him about every big decision I make
and
small. I mean, we talk about our work constantly to each other, which is really great. And he's a great sounding board. I think we both just like ask for and take each other's advice on most projects most of the time. Aside from October 8, where we together were associate producers, we haven't like done a project together, although he has optioned several of the books that were on my podcast. We
Great.
did that particularly in the beginning. Yeah, so that's fun. But, he and his team at Morning Moon are looking for some specific, they know what they like. I know what I like. It's not necessarily complete crossover.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it sounds like there definitely could be some opportunity for more crossover, into the future. But that's fun. I ask because obviously Ryan and I work so closely together, and couples that, like I always like to say, there are some couples that look at us and they're like, I could never work with my spouse. So it's always, interesting when you see ways in which it works for people.
No, we go to each other's events. I think we have a nice balance of working closely and, going into our own offices and then meeting up and talking over dinner and, all that. So, I would work with him.
Yeah. No, that's great. And he's lovely as well. I had so much fun with the two of you. You guys are both great. And you can see just how much you really support one another. So that's so important. And it's wonderful to see.
Oh, thank you. Well, you too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Did you want to be doing all this? Like, was this like a
goal?
Like 20 years ago, did you see yourself doing this stuff?
Yeah. 20 years ago, I had just failed in publishing a novel that I had written, but had gone out with an agent. I was still reeling from that rejection, which really hit me hard because I just assumed I'd be able to sell it. I had actually just published a book I'd ghostwritten called Your Perfect Fit and was contemplating, no, actually it hadn't come out yet, but soon. But I guess in answer to your question, I was writing back then. I've always wanted to write, which I do a little bit. I had just graduated from business school and I loved the idea of starting up companies, which is part of why I went. I love marketing. I love consumer behavior, psychology, all of it, writing, reading. It was all one big mess. Could I have seen that this would be the outcome? No. But given all the things, even all my internships, which at the time I was like, oh my gosh, like my friends have such clean careers, right? They did consulting for this many years and now they're moving up the ladder. And like literally I am working on the teenage adolescent inpatient unit at a psych hospital. And the next summer I'm at an ad agency. And then I'm at a startup. And none of it was making sense at the time. It made me seem like, I felt like it made me seem like all over the place. But actually, literally everything I've learned and everything I've done informs this. So did I want to be doing this? Yes, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a CEO.
Yeah.
But I've structured it and I didn't want to work for somebody else. I wanted to be able to be at home with my kids whenever I needed to. So I think 20 years ago, I would have been like, oh my gosh, how did you make yourself such a dream job and actually make it work? Because even when I started things in 2018, my first podcast, nobody was listening. And for a while it was 86 downloads. And I'm like, again? Really? Where? And then I would listen to all these other podcasts and they're like, we've had millions of downloads. I'm like, what? How?
Yeah.
How do we do this?
Who's watching all this?
Who are all these millions of people?
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like the success, if you will, is quite hard won. It's one podcast at a time. I was not an overnight success. 7 years of, 5 to 7 podcasts a week, essentially.
God.
It's a lot of work.
Yes.
And I work really hard. My son yesterday, I don't know what possessed him to ask this. He's 10, as 10-year-olds do. But he was like, Mom, what do you do with your free time? And I was like, I don't have any free time. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, my work is my life. And so you guys and my work. And he's like, well, but what do you do when you don't have work? And I was like, well, then I read. And he goes, but reading is your work. And I was like, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. My work is my life because I love it all.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's so cool to see how you take in, as you mentioned, what you talked about with the retreats, going places that you want to go. But in the same vein, it's the things that you have such passion and interest for, how you have made it, your career and your life. And it's just so inspiring. And I think people must look at you and just think, oh my God, I would love to do something like that. Because even though, of course, you must work exceptionally hard, what a dream. You're doing stuff that you genuinely love.
It's great. And
that's
I love
the goal,
working hard.
right? That's the goal. That's the goal in life is to find
That is the goal in life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Find something you love. You never work a day in your life, right?
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort
of. I love working really hard too. I think that's another thing you have to learn about yourself. What % of time do you want to be relaxing versus work? My default is just constantly working really hard until I basically fall down and have to sleep. But that's how I've always been. And that brings me joy. I don't know why. It just is. That's my step point. So I don't know. I think until you go through all these things, you don't necessarily know all these things about yourself until you're in the situations. And then you quickly glean. I mean, it's so bizarre about the human condition. Like, am I good at piano or not? Let me try. You have to like try out all the things and then learn from it and guide your behavior. So I think there's a lot of that.
Yeah. There's such a creative aspect to the work that you do. And, aside from just when you're physically writing a book, but that is really fun. You're getting to create and you have all these new ideas and you're getting to, find new ways to apply them. So I can understand what's enjoyable about that. And by the way, so what were you doing prior to the podcast? And I know you've been in writing and you mentioned all these other avenues that you experienced, but what were you doing for work prior to the Zibby Media Collective?
Prior to the Zibby Media creation, I was at home with my kids for 11 years. And I was freelancing from time to time, but I wanted to be home with my kids. I have 4 kids, and now they're almost 18 to 10. And as they've gotten older, my work has taken up steam, but I still stop and go pick them up every day and come back. And I've structured my life around them and my custody schedule. And that's how I plan my events and my podcast based on pickup and drop off. So I just took this quiz. Susie Welch has a new book out called Becoming You, and I'm about to have her on my podcast. And she has this cool quiz on her website about how closely aligned you are with like what you want out of your life and what you have in your life and then how to get there. And I got there was no differential when it came to family. Like I have prioritized them and I'm living that out as I want it to be. So I feel really good about that.
That's amazing. And I want to take that quiz. That sounds really great.
Take it. It's susiewelch.com.
I will.
I have a question. All these projects you have, all the different avenues, all the different sort of businesses that all fall under the same brand. What's your favorite?
My favorite is that I get to do all of them all at once.
No. I didn't ask you like which kid is your favorite. You don't get to answer like that. Come on.
I'm serious though. I would find doing just one too limiting. I love pieces of all of them. To me, the way my brain works, I like having lots of different things going on at all times. So if look, don't get me wrong. On a given day, where would I love to sit? I would love to sit in my bookstore all day, every day. I love it there. I love being there. I love being surrounded by books.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. Because honestly, for someone right now, obviously in this day of age, where why would you open a bookstore, right? When so many people can just download books or watch it or read it or whatever. You have to have obviously a passion for that. So I had a feeling you were going to say that.
For me, the store is not about commerce. Yes, we sell books, but it's about book discovery. It's about connections you make over book. We're an event space. We have events there 3 to 5 times a week. So it's less about we're the only place you can buy a book. Obviously, you snap your fingers and then there's a book. But that's also not why people come in. They don't come in because occasionally someone will dash in and say, do you have this book? And we'll say yes or no. But mostly that's not what we're there for. We're there for people to come in at night and learn about an author they've never heard of, or see an author they've always admired in person, or going through our custom curation because each shelf is a different topic and say oh, look, I'm reeling from divorce too. They have a whole bookshelf about that. I must not be alone.
Yeah.
And here are 12 books they recommend. So it's really an in-person recommendation engine, brought to life.
So cool. I love a beautiful bookstore. And, there's not, I do. And there's not too many, here in Rhode Island. We've got some great one that actually Debbie Goodwich Royce had that gorgeous place. Now it's a different owner down in Westerly. But I am so excited to visit your bookstore because you always have these cool events going on. You have the most interesting people in and out of there every day. I always see the photos, and that's just a really great thing to have. Do you see yourself opening an East Coast version? No? Aw, darn.
Not right now.
Not right now.
It's a lot. And I'm so lucky with everything about it, the location, the people, everything. So I don't want to jinx it.
No, that's fine. It looks beautiful. So what can we expect from you maybe over the next year? Anything particular we should keep an eye out for? Obviously, we mentioned your retreats. You've got October 8th is underway now. Anything else you'd like to mention?
I have a Substack at zibbyowens.com. I write there most weeks. I post on Instagram like 3 times a day at Zibby Owens. So if you really want to know what I'm up to, you can follow me there.
Yep.
I'm writing another novel, which theoretically should come out next year.
Yay.
But I basically just threw away my novel and I'm starting from scratch, so it's actually time.
Oh, God.
And, we at our publishing house are releasing books every month, so keep an eye on those at Zibby Publishing. Yeah, and just getting to know authors and reading great books. Just excited to do it all.
Wonderful. So fun. Well, very excited to watch you and, get to experience some of the fun with you at different points as well. So thank you for joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just can't believe, moms don't have time. But it's true, Zibby, you're superwoman, super mom.
Make the time.
I have a great team too. I have a great team. So that helps.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again,
thank
Zibby.
you so much.
And let's get together soon.
Yes.
Say hi to Kyle. Thanks.
I will. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
And that wraps up this episode of On the Edge with Ryan and Juliana.
Thank you so much for listening. And please be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform.
We'll see you next time.